Hi, I'm Mitch, and welcome to the Restoration Road, where my guest today is the founder of MindCAP, the one and only Jeanne Zehr. Jeanne, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Could you, in a few sentences, describe MindCAP before we get into it a little deeper after your story?
Yeah. MindCAP is a place where I've brought friends that I have trained in an international program called the Feuerstein program. And we offer hope to people that maybe they're an adult with ADHD or autism, or they had a brain injury 20 years ago and they still want to get better. So it's an amazing place that we are able to help people from all walks of life and all ages.
Would you say you could help somebody reprogram their brain?
We like to say rewiring.
Okay, rewiring.
We can rewire. We can help you rewire that.
I guess
frontal
God
lobe.
programmed it up front, didn't he?
That's right. That's right.
I love that.
We just help God.
I love that. Well, I want to talk about how you got there. Could you start with your personal story of faith?
I was raised in a wonderful Christian home, but church was just an expectation. You know, you just go to church. And when I married Rick, we started attending a church, and we discovered he had an amazing voice. And so he started singing. And the more he started singing, the more we got convicted that you better believe these words you're singing.
Oh, my goodness.
So we were traveling to churches, and he was, needing to share his faith, and we got so convicted. And a missionary came home for the summer, and we started attending a Bible study with him, and we were blown away that this faith thing was real, that prayer was real, that worship was real, and you could do something with praising God with song and with your heart. And it kind of blew us away, and we were like, this is really cool. This is awesome. And so totally turned our life around, that church wasn't just something you do on Sunday. It was something that permeated your whole life.
Wow. So how far into your marriage with Rick was that?
Oh my, we were a good 10 years in.
Really?
And we'd been going to church the whole time, raising two cute little kids, and
Wow.
thinking we were loving God and being good people.
Well, now I got to ask you, how did that lead into him becoming a pastor?
Yeah, well, we had a real heart for evangelism, and the church we were a part of, that wasn't really a major goal for them. So we got together, some friends, and said, let's start a church that worships God with authenticity and also is evangelical. And so back in 1990, we started a little church in Leo called Church of the Good Shepherd.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I think that's a genuine tension in churches, whether you're going to be evangelistic or whether you're going to kind of just stick to the core group that you have there.
Right.
And it seems like it leads to church planning and have that in the DNA in the beginning if you're going to evangelize.
Right. And then that brought us a son-in-law, because he came to hang out with Rick. Rick was the youth pastor then. And he said, I just gave up my old lifestyle and I can't hang out with those guys anymore. So Rick, could I hang out with you?
Oh my
And
gosh.
Rick's like, sure. So Matt kind of became his young buddy. And then he noticed we had a really beautiful daughter. So the rest is history. We now have an awesome son-in-law and great grandkids.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
How many grandkids?
4.
Wow. Talk about your career. You had an amazing career in public education, and I think it's really good to see how you integrated your faith into that.
Grateful for 35 years in public education. Retired as the assistant superintendent and knew that something else was calling, this MindCAP was calling. But while I was there, I was a school principal at a pretty tough school, had a lot of poverty there, had children coming from all walks of life, and I was blessed to be given a PTA president, a woman that I discovered was an awesome Christian. And Diane and I would sneak into the closet behind the gym to pray.
Oh my goodness.
And so any day that I was feeling overwhelmed and like, I just can't handle one more thing, because when you're a school principal of 500 children, staff of 60, you're answering to parents, to a school board, to a superintendent, as well as the 500 children and your staff. And there were just days I'm like, you're so reactionary. You want to be proactive, but all you end up doing is just trying to be reactive. And there were just days I went, Diane, let's go pray. We would have to go to the closet and pray.
How did you change from reactive to proactive? To me, that's really insightful.
Yeah, that was some time of prayer. Summers would have to, I would get me a team of teachers who would surround me and parents. We did prayer walks around the school before school would start, to start the school year. So we would walk the halls, lay our hands on every door, and pray for every teacher and every child that we knew was going to enter that classroom. And so by having, I think, God in front of you and behind you helps you to be proactive, to be always thinking, what does God want me to do in this situation? You can have all the plans of man, and you can have great agendas, but what does God want me to do? Yeah.
You're a lifelong learner. What's your education?
Yeah.
For all your degrees?
Yeah, started out at with an elementary and special education, a dual degree, and went into special education, worked with children with severe, profound issues, and then used my elementary degree, moved into kindergarten, then decided to get my master's in learning disabilities, and then somebody met me in the hall, wonderful man, Lowell Madden, and he met me in the hall one day. I was at Village Elementary at the time as a technology teacher, and I'm pushing a big old computer up a ramp, and he goes, "Jeannie, how long are you going to do this?" And I said, "Well, until I get it up to room 201." And he said, no, I mean, you're a leader. You need to be a principal. And I went, "What? Okay." No one had ever spoke those words to me. And so I looked into it. I went, oh, it'd be about a year of classes. I can do this. So back in the 80s, early 90s, I finished up my administrator's license through IPFW. And then a few years after that, we had a school superintendent, district superintendent, who offered his principals the opportunity to go get their doctorate.
Wow.
So every Wednesday at 3 a.m., I got up and two other guys, we drove to Terre Haute.
To Indiana State? Oh my goodness.
And spent all day, and we were home by about 8, 9 o'clock at night. And we asked the head of the department, "Why in the world do you have a Wednesday?" He says, "If I had you come on the weekends, when would you study? Because you're all school principals." And we went, "Yeah, you're right." So we had Wednesday to be in class, and he said, "Now I know your district supports you, that they'll let you out of the school for one day a week."
Wow.
And I remember walking into my den every Friday night going, "Oh God, I really don't want to do this. I'm exhausted."
Because you'd spend almost the whole weekend.
Yeah, all week working hard, and it's Friday night. I'd stand in the doorway, and it was like a barrier that I had to cross to go into my den where the computer was, where I was going to study for 2.5 days. And then Monday morning, get back up and go back to work. It was a year. It was a season.
That's incredible. So talk about this second Jewish guy that affected your life, Dr. Rueben Feuerstein.
Yeah, he was on this panel with all these other important child psychologists from Yale and Harvard and Columbia, all the big guys. This was back in the 90s. And at that time, we did not know yet about neuroplasticity. The research was started, but you and I and people on the street didn't know about it. And so he was at the end of this panel, and they were all talking about how intelligence is fixed. It doesn't change throughout your lifetime. It's pretty well established by the age of 4 or 5. And there was this guy at the end with a gray beard and a beret and a funny name. And he kept countering, and I could tell the rest of them didn't like him. And everything he said countered. He said, no, intelligence is malleable. He talked about structural, cognitive modifiability. It can be changed throughout life. And I'm going, whoa, who is this guy? I want what he's got. And so back then we didn't have Google. But we did have internet, and I was able to find training in Chicago. So a friend of mine, the speech pathologist at the school, who was an awesome Christian, she and I drove every summer to Chicago to get this training, and then I eventually got to meet him and learned from him as well.
And that's Dr. Rueben Feuerstein.
Yes.
Tell me about his life.
Oh, he was a young psychologist, managed to get out of Romania before the Nazis came through and they were chasing him. He managed to get out, and when the war was over, they found some teenagers still alive at Auschwitz. And Reuben was one of those young psychologists that when they found the survivors at Auschwitz barely alive, horrifically traumatized, they took them to Israel, and of course were building orphanages and kibbutzes. And so these teenagers were given to Rueben Feuerstein. And they said, get them to have hope again. You're a psychologist, figure out a way. And he just had to live in the same house with them because he said they were so depressed. They were suicidal. It was all he could do to get them to get out of bed in the morning. Here they were freed and rescued, but that doesn't mean that they had the spark to still go on and live because they'd lost so much. And so he was often put into this context of many, many cultures. So he studied interactions between mothers and children, teachers and students, rabbis and pupils, and he noticed how intense a high-quality interaction is. And so he defined human interaction, and he created a very active cognitive skills program. By that time, Freud was huge. And so, of course, the talk therapy, psychotherapy was really big. And Feuerstein chose a completely different path, praise God. He chose a path that was a very active. And after I discovered it, it didn't take me too long to realize, oh my word, this is Romans 12:2.
Wow.
Yeah. This is be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And churches, as Christians, we've always assumed, well, that's good. We'll pray for you that you can, become a Christian and then your mind will be renewed. Well, tell somebody that's had a brain injury that. Tell someone that's had a drug addiction for 10 years. There are people who are miraculously transformed, praise God, by prayer.
Right.
And then some of us have a hard road that we need to walk.
Right.
And we've got to work out our salvation a little bit more. We got to work out our transformation. Does prayer help? Absolutely. But for some of us, there's hard work involved too.
Yeah.
And so the Feuerstein program, to me, I'm like, this is Romans 12:2. I've got an opportunity to help this verse come to life, to give it hands and feet.
That's incredible. So how did you develop your relationship with him?
I emailed him a few times, and I met him in the late 90s in Chicago. They brought him to the United States a couple times. And so I told him, I said, Reuben, I've waited 3 years to meet you. And I brought my old 1980 textbook he had written. I said, would you autograph my book? And sure, and he's autographed many books for me now. And I said, thank you. And he leaned over and his little bearded face, and he kissed me on the cheek. And I joke, it took me 3 days to wash my cheek. This sweet old Jewish guy kissed me on my cheek. So I do like to talk about these two Jewish guys that really influenced my life. And I saw him again a couple years later at a different airport in Birmingham, Alabama. And we were both getting our luggage.
You mean randomly?
We were going to the same conference, but we happened to end up at the luggage, carousel at the same time. And I said, oh, Professor Feuerstein, I'm so happy to see you. I'm Jeanne Zehr, Dr. Zehr from Indiana. He goes, oh, I remember you. And I'm going, okay.
The Feuerstein method works.
Okay. This guy doesn't forget much, does he? So then I got to literally sit at his feet in Israel and learn from him. And he was often at the conferences where they then started asking me to train. So I now work for the Feuerstein Institute, and they send me around the world. I've been in about 10 countries for them. And,
my goodness, what do you mean like sit at his feet in Israel? How long of a period is that, and what transpired?
That was a long weekend in Eilat. We were there for 3 days, and he brought together, he called it the Champions Conference, and he brought many of us from all around the world, invited us to come. We just need to talk. And what a beautiful opportunity to talk about the Feuerstein method and how do we help people understand what it does. And what makes the Feuerstein program so amazing is also what makes it very difficult to market, because it can help anybody. It helped me as I went through the training. I'm going, oh my word, I still have a few things to learn too about how I think and how I can learn. So no matter who you are, how successful you are, or what very serious issues you have, the program can help. Well, that makes it almost sound miraculous. Well, it is.
Did you ever share with Rueben Feuerstein, the Romans 12:2?
Not with him, but I know one of my good friends from the Netherlands who is a Christian started quoting the Beatitudes to Reuben one day, and he finished the verse. And Rinsha looked at him and said, "Professor," and he leaned over and he said, "I've been reading the New Testament."
Are you kidding?
And so we all started praying for Reuben.
Oh my
And so when he
goodness.
passed away in his sleep, we still earnestly hope and pray that we'll see him in heaven. But wouldn't that
Wow.
be beautiful?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is incredible. All right, what is the Feuerstein method? How would you describe it?
Well, it is a very active cognitive skills program where you're engaged with doing paper pencil tasks. I call it cognitive play. They have something for children called play therapy. Well, this is like a version for adults. You know how you do puzzles and Sudoku and things that are paper pencil that challenge your brain. Only what's different about this is that for once we say take your time. Slow down. You know, our American academic system and also in jobs, often our careers demand us to think fast and to move quickly so we can get results faster. But with the Feuerstein method, almost as if you were a tennis star and you hired someone to coach you, that tennis coach would tell you to slow down your swing. Let's look at where your elbow's at. Maybe you need to move your finger or your thumb. Well, how about with thinking? So with the Feuerstein program, how you're working on these puzzles, we're quietly sitting beside you, helping you solve them, but we ask questions. Very much like your ask that you talk about in your Street Smarts. And so we ask good questions and then we wait. There's never a rush to fill in the silence. And so we wait for you to think about that and to give an answer. And then we'll follow up with our next question. So we're skilled and practiced at asking questions that get you to think for yourself and to get you to solve the problem. We'll never solve it for you, but we'll help you figure out a way.
Can it happen digitally with the new digital pencil, or and
Great
my sub
question.
question with that is,
That's a great
could you do it
question.
with a keyboard?
I've been asked that by a couple different organizations, one that wanted to take it national, and the Feuerstein Institute is pretty adamant that it be human to human. And I think Reuben was on
The
to
human
something.
interaction part from the beginning.
Yeah, God did create us, you know, the Bible says, you know, don't stop meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's something about the human. Now, what we'll do is if I worked with you for 4 or 5 weeks and you really started understanding what he called it mediation, the human interaction. Once you started really understanding that, for example, we've worked with some missionaries that were home from the field and we got them going in the Feuerstein program. And then when they went back to Spain or went back to Kazakhstan or wherever, we'll then Skype with them because they understand and we have a relationship.
Can you give me an idea of a question you might ask, and I'm here with my pencil in hand, and what I'm supposed to do?
Believe it or not, the first question we asked deals with your perception. We ask, what do you see? What do you see on this page, Mitch? And you'll give me some answer. Oh, I see dots or I see shapes.
Right.
What else?
And it causes me to start thinking deeper in a way. I wouldn't have gone, and when you say what else, I would have told you everything in the beginning that I was thinking. You say what else, I gotta go, oh. And so I start
There's
thinking
something
deeper.
More?
And how many times do you say what else?
Until I think you really have collected all the precise and accurate data that you need from that piece of paper or that task or whatever it is we're looking at. So I'm going to ask that until I really think you've collected everything you need. Then I'm going to ask, well, what do you think the problem is here? Or what's the challenge? So now I'm asking you to do problem definition. So I start with perception, then we move to problem definition. And we could spend a minute or two on each of those questions before I ever move to, well, what's your plan? What are you going to do now? What's your strategy?
Perception, problem definition, plan. So what's my strategy
Yeah.
to fix whatever I'm seeing, the dots being connected,
Yes.
the shapes?
Yeah.
And then does that go into more personal trauma that they've experienced?
It can eventually, and here's the beauty of the whole program. Work this program at Redemption House. Do you remember when you interviewed Marisa
Yes.
and Beth? Marisa was in my very first class
Oh my goodness.
at Redemption House, that I decided to take this to people in recovery from some type of addiction 5 years ago. I'm going, wonder if this Feuerstein program could work with addiction. Tommy, what do you think? She goes, let's try it.
Oh,
And
wow.
Marisa was in that first class. So she was the one, and we always build a neuron because God made the brain incredibly capable of growth throughout our life. So Marisa's shaking this neuron at me. We make a model of a neuron to help people understand your brain can continue to grow no matter what it's been through, no matter what. And Marisa's shaking this neuron at me at the end of the table. And I just met her that night. And she's going, so you're telling us that it's not too late for our brain to grow? And I go, nope, isn't that great? She goes, wow, Jeannie, then you give us a lot of hope.
Wow.
Marisa and I are now great friends. She's now the co-director of the house.
Isn't that amazing?
She passed her human services exam, and she and I both know it's partly accredited to God and the Feuerstein program that brought her brain back.
That's incredible. Are you still working at the Redemption House?
Every Thursday night.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. I bet you have all kinds of success stories out of that.
Yeah, there's so many women almost tearful when we build the neuron and they sit there holding it and they'll look at me and go, really? You mean it's not too late?
What is a neuron?
Yeah, a neuron is the cell that is in our brain. We have about 100 billion of them that make up our brain, you and I both. And what's fascinating about them is they just discovered not too long ago in scientific history and science research that there's parts of the neuron called the dendrites. They're little fingers that grow out of the neuron. Those can continue to grow up to maybe 10,000 connections per neuron at any time in your life, as long as you're willing to take on something novel, something new, that's a bit challenging, you will grow new dendrites. Well, that's pretty powerful news.
That is.
Yeah, that's Romans 12:2, all over the place.
Mind-boggling.
Yeah, that's renewal.
I just called it mind-boggling.
And it is.
Kind of is.
And it is.
Well, how did you get the spirit prompting to start MindCAP, and what happened?
Because I got told no. There was an organization that I offered to set up a tutoring program using this, and they said, no, we don't really have room for that. And I went, okay. And I walked out, and I thought I would be devastated, and I wasn't. I walked out and went, okay, you said no, so God, that door closed. What window do you want me to open? And I went, okay, I just need to do it myself.
Oh, my.
Yeah. So that was about 4 years ago. And so 3 years ago, the day after Christmas, we opened the doors, and it has been quite a ride ever since. Yeah.
How many staff do you have?
Yeah, there's 10 of us.
And they're all trained in the Feuerstein?
Well, except the office manager and bookkeeper. And even my husband has had to sit through training.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Way to go, Rick.
Yeah.
That is just awesome. You've had the opportunity to help girls that have been rescued from human trafficking. Can you describe some of those stories?
Yeah, my son and daughter, you know Clinton Heather, and Heather got these prayer requests back from Phnom Penh. And the girls there, now they could be aged, the youngest I met there was 6 years old, rescued from sex trafficking. But usually they run around the ages of 12 to 16. And the girls sent their requests back, their prayer requests, and a couple of them said, pray for us to become smarter so we can learn. And Heather said, Jeannie, look at this.
Oh, my.
You've got to take MindCAP to Cambodia. And I went,
my.
well, okay, let me make a few phone calls. It took 8 months for the fabulous organization Destiny Rescue to understand who I was and what I was doing. And they finally said yes. So I've gone 2 years in a row, and I train counselors and teachers who work directly with the victims of sex trafficking, because obviously we're talking about some trauma. For example, one of the girls there was so traumatized that she attempted to kill herself by taking rat poison.
Oh, my.
And it didn't work. And so, but she was very badly, had a lot of brain trauma from the toxic chemicals that attacked her brain. So she's a perfect candidate, as any of the girls are, who are so traumatized. They're sold often by their families. They think they're gonna go work at a nice hotel. They don't know what they're going to. They don't even know what this is that they're going to. And so to be repeatedly raped, sometimes many times a night, gang rape is very common in Asia. And women are just simply objects to be used. And so Destiny Rescue gets them out, gives them a safe place to live. And so this program is just a part of that.
That's absolutely
Yeah.
just totally God to be able to take you there the way He
Yeah.
did and the restoration that it's
Yeah.
having. You're one of the few people that are a direct disciple of Rueben Feuerstein, and now you're discipling other people in the method to multiply it for future generations. Is that right?
Yeah, very honored to do that. I take every training very seriously. We can have as few as 6, or we can have 20 people in a training. And last June, Greta Ellers, my assistant director, an awesome Christian, her background is in Bible and missions, and she's a fabulous trainer. And so she had about 15 people around the table while I was in Australia doing the very same training. So across the world, we're both doing the same training. And we take it so seriously that it's difficult when we have our little graduation ceremony to not be tearful about what we're doing, because we're launching you out there into the world to help provide hope. I like to say we're a peddler of hope, or I'm a pathological optimist.
I like that part. How long does the training last?
It's a 5 full days. Reuben would not back off of that and would not allow any of the training to be done by webinar either. It must be done in person. So it's a little more intensive
Personal
than
connection.
what America tends to want. We want everything online.
Where do you go from here? Do you have any big dreams or a big dream?
Jerusalem right now is the one place in the world, the only place in the world you can go to take your child to get the Feuerstein method, and you live there for maybe 2 weeks to 6 weeks. People from all over the world go there to get help and hope. Well, why couldn't Fort Wayne, Indiana also be a place people could come from all over the world? So the MindCAP Center is now positioned to do that with my team. We've had inquiries from Poland. We've have had inquiries from Australia. We've had people come to get training from Canada, Montreal, Argentina, so Kazakhstan, Lithuania. So already internationally, the Institute in Israel knows we're here, and so when somebody calls from North America, contacts them, they say, contact Dr. Zehr at the MindCAP Center in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So who knows?
Wow. Jeannie, this has been amazing. I can't believe you took time to read Street Smarts from Proverbs.
I did. I loved it.
And it's amazing.
Oh, I love Proverbs.
Well, yes, you do. And when you emailed me all the people, the stories that are in there that you've interacted with, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
It's just awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us today. I can't wait to see what God does next with you.
Yeah, thank you. If you have not gotten your copy yet of Street Smarts from Proverbs, How to Navigate Through Conflict to Community, I highly recommend it. I just finished reading it myself, was amazed at the stories. Mitch brings to life the Proverbs, wisdom from thousands of years ago that apply to today through the compelling stories of people that he has met and that he knows. I hope you'll read it soon.